The Brandenburg Regiment was the Special Forces unit of Germany during World War II. Originally, the unit was formed by and operated as an extension of the German military intelligence service, the Abwehr. Members of this unit took part in seizing operationally important targets by way of sabotage and infiltration. Consisting of foreign German nationals working on behalf of the Third Reich, the unit's members often lived abroad, were proficient in foreign languages, and were familiar with local culture and customs of the areas where they were deployed. The Brandenburg Regiment was generally subordinated to the army groups in individual commands and operated throughout Europe, North Africa, and the Caucasus. The unit was the brainchild of Hauptmann or Captain Theodor von Hippel, who approached Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, the commander of the German military intelligence. Hippel proposed that small units trained in sabotage and fluent in foreign languages could operate behind enemy lines and wreak havoc with the enemy's command and communication. As part of the Abwehr's second sabotage department, Hippel was tasked with creating such a unit. Originally, the unit Hippel assembled was called Baulehr-Bataillon or Special Duties Construction and Training Battalion 800. But its later more widely known epithet, the Brandenburgers, stemmed from the name of the unit's first permanent quarters. Training for the men in the Brandenburgers ranged from 5 to 7 months and included course instruction on reconnaissance, swimming, hand-to-hand combat, demolitions, marksmanship in both German and Allied weapons, conventional infantry tactics, and other specialized training. Brandenburg units were deployed as small commando outfits to penetrate enemy territory and conduct both sabotage and anti-sabotage operations. Most of the personnel were fluent in other languages, which allowed them, for example, to penetrate the Netherlands in 1940 disguised as Dutch barge crews just before the start of the invasion. During the night before Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union began, Brandenburg units crossed the Soviet border disguised as workers and Red Army soldiers. Ahead of the primary invasion forces, operatives from the Brandenburg Regiment seized bridges and strategically important installations in clandestine missions lasting for weeks before they linked up with the advancing German forces. In February of 1942, the formation of the Light Pioneer Company of the Brandenburg Regiment, a naval commando unit, began on the board of the sailing training ship Gorch Fock. The company was not subordinated to the Kriegsmarine, the German Navy, but was an amphibious commando force of the German military intelligence. Their most important asset was the Leichtes Sturmboot or Light Assault Boat 39. This was a small, high-powered assault craft used for river and small waterway crossing and assaults. These boats were very fast, able to achieve about 30 miles per hour with the use of an outboard motor extended from the rear of the craft. They were without much protection or firepower though, aside from the possibility of an attached machine gun at the bow of the vessel and the weapons of the men inside. The lightest Sturmboot were transported into the battle by most German assault engineer units and were used to spearhead river and small waterway assaults, usually in conjunction with an attempt to form a bridgehead for the construction of a bridge. The craft could carry 6 men or about a half ton of weight. At the turn of the year 1942 to 1943, the company was extended to a battalion. The Küstenjäger Abteilung zur besonderen Verwendung or Special Purpose Coastal Raider Battalion 800. This unit comprised of 4 companies in addition to the department staff. 3 companies were equipped with Pioneer landing craft and assault boats, and the 4th Heavy Company received 12 explosive boats or Linsen and 2 command boats. These were tasked to attack Allied warships. Combat operations were performed as a rule by a group which consisted of 3 boats, 1 boat of control and 2 attack boats. The attack boat was brought to the target at a distance of up to 300 meters and then the driver left it. Later, the control boat would pick him up. Next, the control boat guided the now unmanned attack boat remotely to the target. The metal frame fixed in the body of the boat activated the main explosive charge at the impact with the target's hull. The explosion was carried out with a delay in a submerged position under the bottom of the attacked ship. But in reality, none of these near-suicide attacks were successful during the war. The new naval battalion was under the command of Captain Konrad von Leipzig, a native German from South Africa and an experienced Special Forces operator of the Brandenburgers. The battalion was created for maritime landing operations so that it could operate independently of pioneer units. The coastal raiders undertook countless commando missions until the end of the war, but their most famous operation was the landing and capture of the Leiros Island in the autumn of 1943, which was one of the last German victories in World War II. Operation Leopard was an amphibious and air assault on the island of Leiros, which occurred between the 12th and 16th of November 1943. The Germans airdropped a battalion of paratroopers while conducting an amphibious assault against the island held by the British forces. The convoy carrying the Küstenjäger detachment made one attempt to land on the coast but was forced to return from the island's gun batteries. The first assault was unsuccessful. The Küstenjägers were unable to take the objective as they were pinned down by fire from the British machine gun and mortar positions. All the Brandenburger officers were killed or wounded. In an effort to revitalize the attack, the Stukas were recalled, but again they mistook the target and their mission hit German troops. Shattered by this costly error, the Küstenjäger detachment pulled back under fire and then regrouped. The Küstenjägers were held in the recently captured positions for 3 days without support or reinforcement. They could advance no further. German reinforcements came in during the 13th of November. A few men of the Brandenburgers landed by seaplane in Gorna Bay, while men from the 1st Battalion of the 2nd Regiment parachuted. Despite the hold that the Germans already had over much of the small island, the sea and the air landings had to be made under fire. During the 15th of November, the German Grand Commanders became aware that Operation Leopard was losing momentum. Bad weather on the 14th had prevented reinforcements of the heavy weapons. The service of the Luftwaffe aircraft more than compensated for the lack of the field guns, but nevertheless, reinforcements were needed most urgently, and the 3rd Battalion of the Brandenburgers was ordered to Leros. Later, a patrol from this battalion gained touch with the Küstenjägers on Castle Hill, and the two groups formed up for the final attack on the British headquarters. It was to a party of the Jägers that General Tilney, the commander of the British forces on Leros, surrendered. The bloody battle for the island had been a trial of endurance for both sides. The Brandenburgers, deployed in the unfamiliar role of conventional shock troops, were unable to use subterfuge to take the island and had to rely on their combat skills. Although lacking heavy equipment, they carried the battle to the enemy, and by a combination of tenacity, courage, they broke the British resistance. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to support my channel, check out the PayPal donation link in the description or consider becoming a member. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel please and press the bell notification button. Thank you and see you in the next video.